Hey, everybody. Hey, Dan. Hi, everyone. Boca Raton, mate. I'm at West. I'm West Boca, so I'm kind of actually. When I first moved down here, a quarter of a mile from my home, I'm in the same house. We moved here in 1898. No, boys and girls. I may be old, but I ain't old. 1989 we moved here, and literally a quarter of a mile from my house was the Everglades, and the road ended and there was a red flashing light, and that was it. And now it's like gone 3 miles west into the Everglades. So I'm out West Boca. Yeah, cool. No, mate, it's truly a miracle. You know, if you ask me, do I believe in miracles? The answer to that is yes, of course I do. Seriously, though, I think you could ask any one of the guys in the band, you know, 30, 40 years ago, especially Steve. I mean, he formed the band in 1976. So although it's a lot older than 40 years, you know, in the industry, in fact, to be honest with you, it's 41 years because we celebrated in 2019 our 40th anniversary, because you celebrate from the moment you get your first professional deal a recording contract, and they got theirs in 79. So we're 41 years old. So, you know, that's fine. You can shave the years off. That's all right. Do you remember when you were a kid and somebody say, how old are you? And you'd go, I'm 7. And your mum would go, no, you're not, you're 6. You know, you always say, oh, I'm up. We'd be adding the years. Now we take them away. But, yeah, I think if you'd have asked anyone even 20 years ago, what do you think you're going to be doing? You know, first of all, I think we would say we'd be happy to be alive, considering the kind of lifestyle that pretty much half of the band lived. You know, there were a couple of guys that were completely teetotal in terms of everything, you know, that's associated with rock and roll, except for a bit of a libation, of course. But, you know, it has been an amazing journey, one of which we're still on. You know, we're still driving the bus. And, you know, obviously with the world being as crazy as it is at the moment, and we all know what that means, you know, we were supposed to be on tour. I think I was supposed to be in Europe playing a festival tonight somewhere or the other. No, to actually think, you know, at my age and older guys, we're all over 60, but we still love to rock. And I think the day that we can't, I'll paraphrase a quote from Yannick. He said, the day we become a parody of ourselves is the day we'll hang it up. And in that respect, it means that, you know, we go on stage, we give that show 100+% minimum every night. And if I'm giving it 100% and that ain't enough, then obviously I'd have to go, well, look, you know, guys, you know, I'm not being able to run this bus properly. You know, I'm not on full, you know, supercharger's gone. But you know, yeah, to actually think of the longevity of where we're at and what we've achieved and what we've still got to do. It's immense. It really is. And of course, that's down. Thank you to whoever fans are out there tuning into this. I thank you personally for you know, supporting the band and enabling us to carry on and go out and do these wonderful tours. You know, because without our fans, you know, what are we going to do it for? Well, we do it for ourselves, of course. But, you know, it'll be silly playing to an empty hall with a massive production like the last one we've taken out, you know. Sure, mate. Yeah. As long as there's people out there listening, watching, and maybe sending questions in, we'll do it. You know, I'm happy. I ain't going anywhere. How about you, boys and girls? What do you think? What are you doing? Hey? Oh. Well, yeah, good question, mate. Obviously, technology is come on leaps and bounds. I mean, we you know, when we were first recording, when I first joined the band, it was analog, you know, 2-inch magnetic tape, and we had a couple. Yeah. Oh, you beauty. Was that an Akai? It's an Akai, right? I even got the model. We're not. See, boys and girls. See? Yeah, we would record analog. Now, the basic structure, the way we did the albums in the early days, we would do basically set the rhythm track first. So I would go at it. We'd learn the song either prior to going in the studio. That Peace of Mind album, we only had 5 songs written. Well, there were more than 5. So I think there was 8 or 10 songs on that record. But when we went to Compass Point, we first started rehearsals in January. My very first downbeat was January the 9th, 1983. And we sat in a room, we jammed 5 songs just so they could make sure, and the rest of the guys were like, okay, this is the drummer, we got to replace Clive. We learnt 5 songs in the room over 3.5, 4 weeks of rehearsal. Then we went to NASA, where Eagles Dare, funny enough, which was, I think, the opening track, not the title track, but the first track on the first side of that record, with, the famous drum intro and all this business, which is a whole nother story behind that, which we won't, everybody knows pretty much that story. But, that song was only half written. Steve had only got half of that song. So I learned the basic groove of it. And then we learned the rest of it while we were in NASA. So certain songs were rehearsed and performed from A to B prior to going to the studio. Some were learned and written and finished being written in the studio. Now, what we would then do was, once we'd gone, right, ready to record it, Martin, let's go, don't worry about the red light. Because sometimes you have that red light syndrome. You see the old button press and the red light recording, oh dear, I better not make a mistake. Now, okay, so magnetic tape, you can still edit it. Now, what I mean by that is if you do 2 or 3 passes of a song and you've got one section where you made a mistake, you can actually splice one section to another. But you have to have a couple of machines to do that. Very, very time consuming. Today, processed with Pro Tools and what's the other stuff they got? I don't know. Logic and all those bits and pieces and MIDI stuff. You can do it on the computer. And it's much easier and much quicker. But there's a certain class of people or school of people that I personally prefer analog, because it's got a certain something about it when you record on magnetic tape. Yeah, there's like a hiss to it, it's got its own compression. Anyway, that's another story. So anyway, what we would do then is we would make the song from A to B, and we'd do a couple of passes, and obviously, you go, oh, we could do a better one. And 9 times out of 10, from my personal experience, usually the first one you cut, or the first run through, if you're recording it without knowing you're recording it, it's like a demo, right? You kind of demo the song, if you like. Sometimes you demo songs, and I think Sultans of Swing was a primary example from, what's the name of that band? Yeah, yes, who I'm talking. Oh, so who did Sultans of Swing? Yeah, Mark Knopfler's not. Anyway, they recorded a demo and a 4-track studio, I think it was, and they used that. Anyway, so you've got to capture that essence of the song. Now, sometimes we leave little mistakes in if the groove is great, in the early days. Now, moving forward, the way the changes have taken place is, okay, let me finish some story on that. What we would do was get the drum track right. And Steve then would go and take, even if he had an amazing pass, he'd go, well, I'm going to change my bass strings, new strings, off we go. And he would overdub the bass. And then we would then either use the rhythm tracks that were with guitar, some of them, or they would go and do them again and tidy up bits and pieces. Solos, 9 times out of 10, the solos were definitely overdubbed. As we move forward, we wanted to create more of a live vibe in the studio. We've always wanted to get that live feeling to the albums, and so we started to realise, with Martin at the helm for the first 3 albums I did, I think it was, and then we had another engineer producer. I can't remember their names now. I'll get it later. But anyway, once you're working with different people, they have their ideas of how to construct the rhythm tracks and build on stuff. So what we do, even today, what we do now is we learn the song from start to finish, and we'll do 3 or 4 passes, and we'll get the best parts of those songs. because digitally now, with these Pro Tools systems, it's so much easier to cut and paste. Whereas in the old days, you had to cut and paste. And now, if you had one beat in a bar, you could have what determined a great engineer producer was how they edited tape. Not the knob fiddling and twiddling, right? You know, so, I can get rid of that one dodgy beat that you made and we'll move it out. We'll take one of those over there. And they'd have to splice tape and edit it. It was amazing art. I mean, to see these guys, how they did that. So we basically, the only difference is the way you can actually do the performance and as I said, cut and paste things together. Whereas, 9 times out of 10, we would make a pass and it would be the one. You know, we wouldn't have to take this bit from that song and this bit from that song. We did that in the early days, but not very often because it was time consuming and pretty difficult. Nowadays we tend to really make sure we've got everything right, where it's supposed to be. I lock in with Steve, we sit down and work between just me and him. Once the song's written, whether it's a Steve song or an Adrian track, Steve and I work and sit, just the two of us, and go over what I will play with Steve and what he will play to the track. And then I embellish, once I've got that, I usually then would embellish wherever the guitar accents may fall or something, a phrasing that Bruce will sing. So I'm listening to the rest of the band as well, not just my bass player. Does that make sense? Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, some of the songs that he's written and that Maiden perform, there's some very strange time changes and sections in there. And sometimes I'm like, what the heck, how am I going to play that? But bear with me, boys and girls, because what you doing? I've got my cat over here. She's playing with me. Behave yourself. There's a key. You have to find a key for a transition. Now, I don't read score. I tend to count a bar when I have to. If I know where I've got 4 bars before I'm going to go into a 7/8 section or some weird 13/16 or whatever it's going on. There's a key that once you get familiar with it, it's like riding a bike. You never forget it, right? But to when you're you can be a bit wobbly. So you have to persevere. Now, by the way, as well, what we do now, to go back to the question about the differences, is we acoustically learn the songs first. And I'll be sitting there. And I'll sit there, here, is that the kind of groove you like? No. Straight up. So we learn a song like that way. And then we go into the electric mode. And then once we've learned that, we'll record it. That's in the last 4 or 5 records. So with Steve, it's pretty, it's like, it's a no-brainer, if you like. I don't have to think very much. Now, I've left myself wide open that way because people will probably go, yeah, we know you don't think a lot, Nick. No, it's because we've been playing together. It's like we'll have a bond, and that's very important in any band, to have that bond with your rhythm, your bass player or the bass player with the drum. And so when Steve's written a song, first thing I'll say to him, what kind of feel do you have in your mind, Steve? What kind of drum part are you looking at? And he'll go, well, and we'll mouth it together. It goes, he can play real good air, mouth drums. He's shit on the kit, but once he he does a pea suit. Anyway, so it gives me an idea. So then when we've learnt the song sitting in acoustic, and we play it a few times, we will actually sit and play just the two of us and lock ourselves in together. But it's amazing because it's just so natural. It's a natural vibe with Steve, and of course he's one of the best bass players in the whole wide world. I know what the question is. Who's the best looking bloke in the band? And who's always right? Exactly. The drummer's always right, mate. I owe that one to my dear friend Johnny Wagner. Bless him. Well, okay, we were scheduled to go out on the Legacy of the Beast part, however many we've done now. It'll be, I think, part 2 or 3. We were supposed to start in Australia in April to do rehearsals, and then we were going to start in Perth on May the 1st, was our first gig. 6 shows were going to be done in Australia, I think 1 or 2 in New Zealand, and then we were going to go back and work our way back through Asia, beg your pardon, Japan, Dubai, a couple of other places. Anyway, obviously, with this dreaded pandemic that's it, all live music and whatnot has been basically put on hold. So the plan now is to go back out next year, God willing, and hopefully, I guess when, I don't want to get too, everybody's sitting in the same boat. They're all talking about how and when and what and if. But, we do know that we got to have a vaccine for it. Once we have that, then things will probably get back to normal. They're reckoning perhaps the end of this year. I think there's a couple of guys in England that have Imperial College and Oxford University have got a medicine that helps you to not have a fatality from this horrible, nasty virus. Now, we don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen next year in terms of when it will open up and we can have like 20,000 sweaty bodies crammed into a theatre or an arena. But we're planning on going out in a year's time. Yeah, well, we were going to kick off in Australia and then head over to New Zealand. Which, by the way, I've got to hats off to the Prime Minister down there. That lass, she's absolutely phenomenal, by the way, and they seem to have got it all under control. But then we were going to hit New Zealand for a little bit, and then Dubai, Manila, Japan. And I think we were going to go to Israel as well, which would have been fantastic. It would have been our second time there. Last time we were down there in 1996, so it's been a while. So those, obviously, all this tour, and then we were going to carry on, do some summer festivals. Download was what we would have been playing there last weekend. But as this has all been put on hold, I believe we've made provision to go back out in June next year, a year's time. The Legacy of the Beast tour. Because now, as far as going to these other countries, I'm not sure whether that's going to happen. It could do. I think, why not? But yeah, that's the plan. Now, equipment-wise, it's still the Legacy of the Beast drum set with the same livery on it, which is all the different stained glass eddies, which fits in with him. Obviously, I made a big change last year to the British Drum Company, and prior to that, I was with Sona for 4 years. Went back with them. Yeah. So I changed. I went on. Basically, people go, well, "What did you leave Sona for?" I mean, they're beautiful drums, beautiful, without a doubt. The first drum set I ever bought when I was 15, 16 was a Sonor, and I fell in love with them then, and had this kind of on-off passion with them. It's like a girlfriend, I'm going to kick her out, but then you get back together again, and, if she'll have you. So, I went back with them for the Book of Souls tour. And originally when Keith Keogh left Premier, he asked me if he could build my drum set for me. And I said, well, yeah, of course you can. I said, but what hardware would we use? And it took 5 years for British Drum Company to come up with a hardware program, which is the Casino Lion, which is a Palladium series of hardware, which was designed by a guy called Alan Kitchen. And
what was his name again?
Alan Kitchen.
Alan Kitchen, yeah.
Yeah, he designed that hardware for us. In fact, when Keith and I worked together at Premiere with Craig Buckley, he was like the GM for a number of years with Premiere. And we were like the trio of the three musketeers. And,
I met them the first time we did our very first interview. The first year of Untitled TV, we met them. Because I remember we did that upstairs in the Premiere office.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh, that's right. Well, so we had a great relationship, and actually we designed a full range of drums together when we were at Premiere, and then just things, as we know the Premiere story, we don't need to go through that again. And of course, Keith left to build his own drums with a British drum company. So I was asked, and I had considered doing it and going with them when things with Premiere, went tits up in 2014. So unfortunately, we didn't have the hardware program. So I thought, well, I better go with who I know. And I approached Sona, went back, and we had a whole plan of product to license stuff, Maiden drum set, like we had with Spirit and Maiden, stuff like that. And then basically, in a nutshell, things didn't work out business-wise with us. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, the Palladium hardware was designed and signed off on.
Right.
And, and I had just, things didn't work out. The marriage, it was kind of went a bit sour with Sonor. And it hurt my heart, to be very honest with you. But, when things go like that, new administration, new people come in, new distributors, new this, new that. They made two beautiful drum sets, which we've seen the Legacy kit. We know the Book of Souls kit, that's iconic. Yeah. But the Legacy kit was, we obviously had to get BDC to build me a new Legacy drum set. So it's still the smoke chrome finish with all the same livery on, same sizes. It's a different wood to the beechwood. I got birch shells with an interior. So on my Icarus drum set that we introduced at the NAMM show this year, that's a black oak with a fishtail oak outside. So what we did was we made my drum set almost identical to that, except the outside laminate. It's not fishtail oak. It's Eddie's.
Interesting. Nice.
Yeah. So that was going to be a nice vehicle to promote that line of drums within the family. So it was a no-brainer decision. Unfortunately, I was pushed to make the decision through my relationship with Sonor, and then of course jumping on with Keith and Al Murray and Ian Matthews, all the guys. I'm so happy. I really am, because the way that Keith makes these drums is unique. It's cold press instead of hot press, and I can go into it briefly, but that allows you to put the laminate if you've got artwork on a laminate on the very first goes in the mold, whereas if you're making a hot press mold, you can't do that.
Right,
you have to attach it afterwards and then trim it all up. This one is a one and done. So, you've got an 8-ply shell, you put your laminate in, 7 plies on it, and set it overnight. It's incredible. And I think what that does, it doesn't stress the wood as a hot press would, because the heat and cure the glue in a hot press is quite intense, and the pressures that are put on the wood. So, that's a good thing.
That's great. Where are they located, Nicko?
Beg your pardon?
Where are they located?
They're up in just outside Manchester in England, very close to Stockport. In fact, it's Stockport. And funny enough, that's where the Trooper beer's made.
Yeah, that's great.
Like literally, it's like a 5-minute drive up the road from the factory. And again, I've got my drum shop in Manchester. It seems like the stars aligned, and the only thing missing is me living in Manchester.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever go back?
To what? To England?
Yeah.
Under the circumstances of what's going on with this country right now, it's a high distinct possibility I might just up and go back home.
Yeah, it's a shame.
You know, but I'm still very patriotic. But I'm an expat. You know, I live here. I've been living in America since 1989, and it's my home. And I suppose being sort of having a dual nationality in a way, you know, being a Brit, I do have the opportunity may go back, but under the circumstances, things ain't looking too bright. But I ain't going to sink this, you know, desert. I'm not going to be the rat that goes down the old chain line, you know, desert the sinking ship, so to speak. I have a home in London still, and I get to go home. Obviously, when we're touring, you know, we do Europe, I get to go home often. And when we're not, unfortunately, now I can't really go back to England. Certainly I can, but I won't sit on a plane for 10 hours. Right. You know, I'm going to try and keep myself, as I said earlier, when we were having a chat before we went online, you know, I had bronchitis when I was a kid. So I always had this bronchitis and I've got asthma. So, you know, I've got to be really, you know, I'm at that age, boys and girls, where I'm in the high risk if I get this corona virus. So,
and,
you know,
I think people can hear me now, I think. So, folks, thanks for being so patient. I really appreciate it. Not that you need to hear me that much, but I'm sure it was kind of annoying to not hear the questions. But I appreciate you sharing all that insight about, you know, the gear and brand changes and all that, and the new process. The kit that I saw at the last Snap show was indeed absolutely beautiful. Can't wait to see you guys on the road again. Another thing I've always wanted to ask you, and I've always just sort of forgotten, is you are, if I remember, aren't you about 6'1", 6'2"? You're
not anymore.
So maybe closer to 5'11", 6 foot.
I'm 5'11".
Okay.
Yeah, I was 6 foot, and I guess over the ages, you know. The rock of ages, so to speak, you know, you kind of shrink down a little bit. Yeah. I've got one of them teeter tables in my game room over just behind you, and I haven't been using it, but I've got to be careful because I get this. I had this real bad. I had a pinched nerve on my vertebrae about a year and a half ago. Before we started out on the Legacy tour, and I had to go and get an injection in my back, and it's starting to come back. So that sciatica things.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately one of those things that happens to us, I think, as drummers.
Yeah.
Lower back issues. My scapular area is fine, although it squeaks and creaks and whatnot. Well, they said to me, why you got your drum set so high? All these cymbals are up here, and your ride cymbals like this, you know, over here. But it's the way I play that drum set. I mean, be honest with you, I could still play all of Maiden's songs on a 5-piece. You just because I'm doing large drum fills, it's because I've got a lot of tom-toms. Yeah. You know, I've got 9 tom-toms up there. Yeah. You know, 8 and a floor tom, you know, 8 hanging toms. So, you know, at the end of the day, when you're doing a couple of bar drum fill over 2 bars, something like that, you know, you don't have to do it on 2 drums or 3. Yeah. You can spread it out.
Yeah,
and like
get different notes.
It's exactly. Yeah. But, you know, it doesn't mean to say that I can't play those songs. So I'd prefer, boys and girls, to actually sit with a 5-piece, because I can play it lower. Yeah. That means you get to see me.
Yeah, and you know, that's what I was going to ask in regards to your height. I've always forgotten to ask you about the way you do sit. It seems like the top of your drum throne is about equal with the bottom of your snare, and then your knees are higher than your waist. So I was kind of wondering about...
it looks like that. But before, I made a change a couple of years ago on the Book of Souls tour, when I moved from Premier to Sonar. I was having issues with my lower back then, and my posture as a player is what I call a lazy drummer. So when I can't know whether I can show you, but I'd sit. Instead of sitting up like this is the correct way to sit, with a straight back, and play, and you know, you got your motion this way, and you're sitting upright. Your posture's good. I'm like this. I don't know whether you can see. This is when I change. I'll show you now. That's how I play normally.
Yeah.
I'm a lazy, what I call a lazy posture.
More of a slumped position.
Yeah, and so this chair I'm sitting in, my legs are horizontal,
right,
to the floor, to the ground. That's about the height I used to play with my stool at.
Okay.
So, and then I had my tom-toms quite high, quite angled. Now, when I look at pictures of my drum set from the 70s, mid-70s, when I first got the 11-piece drum set with Pat Travers in 76, for instance, I watched a video I played with Trust. It was the last gig I played with them. My tom-toms were quite flat, but that was because I sat upright. So when I hit the drum, I was actually sitting up. Now, what happened was, as I've gone down over the years, my drum angles changed.
Yeah.
Right? But that didn't do my back any good after 30-odd years of bashing hell out of them with Maiden.
Yeah.
So when I went back with Sonal, I said to my drum check to Charlie, I said, listen, we're going to have to flatten these toms out. He said, well, you're going to have to take your stool up then in height. So what that made me do, when I took the stool up higher, okay, it changed my visual approach to the drum, right? But when I actually went to play the top toms, I had to literally sit up straight because I flattened them out, but I took the stool up a little bit.
Oh.
Right? And it's still, if I don't practice for a week, and I have the Book of Souls kit in my studio here. Oh. If I don't go in and play that kit for a week and I sit on it, I still feel like I'm too high. But It is exactly the same height that Book of Souls was on the tour, and it's the same height that the Legacy kit, because we duplicated all the angles.
Right.
So yeah, I used to sit super low, and now, of course, if you look at some of the video from the Book of Souls or Legacy, you can actually see this much of my head.
Yeah.
Whereas before you saw that much over the cymbal or the drums.
Exactly.
You know, I'm looking at myself trying to get an idea with.
Yeah.
So, the girls, you and the fellas, you are getting to see me a bit more. But having a 5-piece kit, I'd love to do that. And I said to Steve one day, I said, years back, I said, yeah, mate, I said, you know what? I'd love to go to like a 5-piece drum set, same amount of cymbals. Because I'm a cymbal nut. I'm not going to I can lose some drums, but I'm not losing the metalwork, you know. So he said, yeah. What do you mean, no? I said, why not? He said, because all the girls will be out to see you and they'll be looking at you and not us lot. So, I was like,
Nicko, what would be really cool?
Who's the best looking fella in the band then?
The drummer. What would really be cool is if, and I'm picturing, like one of your stage sets that I've seen on tour, it'd be cool if even for one song you disappear, not that they can see you anyways, but the front of your drum riser opens up and you slide out to the front of the stage on a 5-piece kit to play one special song.
Wouldn't it?
And the other guys doing the leads in harmony on either side of you, that would be so cool.
Ooh.
Think about that. What song did you maybe do that with?
Well, I don't know. Any of them, really.
Maybe the encore. Come out the encore that way.
You can do that. Now, it's funny you should say that about, I for the Legacy of the Beast tour, right, we have 3 different stage sets. We have like the war theme.
Right.
Then we have the cathedral, like in its glory with the stained glass, and I have the stained glass on the bass drum, and all the eddies on the drums are represented from the stained glass windows.
Yeah.
So there's method behind the madness, okay? And at one stage, when we were planning this tour, I had the issue of what artwork could I put on that would suit the whole thing. Because normally my drum sets are themed to the stage. But having 3, so my idea was to have 3 different drum sets.
For each of those themes, that's great.
Right, so we'd have a hydraulic riser, and like the little stages that revolve. We'd have a revolving show, so we'd have 3 drum sets on it, or we'd have the one drum set would go down,
the other would
disappear off stage, and they kind of have a rail system.
Yeah.
I mean, we were thinking of doing it, right? And my tour director, Mr. Ian Day, turned around and he went, "Nah, ain't gonna work. That's not possible." I said, "Why not?" He said, it's not that we haven't got the room. He said, but we're doing festivals that aren't our shows. we're headlining like the Doningtons over 3 days, or or Wacken or something like that.
Right.
One of these shows, and we would have had to have had our own stage to do that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So I was stuck then. We were, how the heck am I going to get around this? The visual for the drum set. Yeah. Now, although the war zone it's a blown up cathedral. There's no mirrors. There's no windows. There's no artwork on the backdrops. Yeah. Right, except for what song we're playing, or I'll have its own artwork there.
Yeah.
So we started pre-production rehearsals. Okay, so I decided to go with stained glass edits because that works for the cathedral and hell, because we're still in the cathedral, but it's all reds and flames and whatnot. Yeah. So we and I said to the guys, I said, I can't come up with an Eddie theme having the stained glass Eddies to have a war theme for the first 5 or 6 songs.
Yeah.
So we decided we were going to use 3 different bass drum heads and 3 different gongs.
Oh.
Right? That was the first idea. But we tried to work out with Remo an interchangeable bass drum head, artwork-wise. So you'd have the back there, you would have the normal front head on, and I don't have a hole in it because I knew the artwork. But we couldn't quite come up with it. It just didn't work out. They had a couple of good ideas. Anyway, so Rod, we're doing the pre-production, and Rod said, "No, I know what we'll do. We'll camouflage you." So we've got camouflage netting on the rest of the around the scrims of the stage.
Right.
So he said, "You don't mind being put behind a net?" I said, "Mate, no one can see me anyway. Do what you like." Right. And blimey, it'd be great. So when we dress that stage and we open up, all we do is see the top of the drums, my head, and the cymbals.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a black gong. Right, a plain black painted gong, which I used on the Somewhere Back in Time tour. It was the gong that came off that tour. Then we did the stained glass window. When we changed to go into the next, there was an intro take, went into darkness, all the stage set gets dressed, all the camouflage gets taken off, new gong. Camouflage is away, then you see the kit all in its glory with all the eddies on and the stained glass window bass drum head.
Yeah.
Stained glass window, the gong. And John Douglas painted it. He's a fantastic artist. I don't know, you know John?
Yeah.
He worked for Alex Van Halen for 20 plus years, and he did a bit of drumming for Aerosmith. Yeah. He just had an exhibition, I think, in Dallas, I think it was. Right, wow. Yeah, of his artwork that he paints on tour in his room.
Wow.
See this stuff. Anyway, he's done like 4 gongs, I think, 3 or 4 gongs. Did the Dance of Death. No, he didn't. He did my Book of Souls gong, which was the Mayan calendar.
Yes.
Hand-packed. It's incredible.
Love that.
So Johnny Douglas did the artwork on the gong. And so that gets changed. So then when it goes into the devil's domain, into like hell and Hades, it's a red gong. And that came off the Ed Hunter tour that we did. So
nice.
There are changes to within the drum world, if you like.
Yeah.
But I wanted to actually have 3 different drum sets originally. And
I think the 5
Jonah would have appreciated that.
Yeah. I think the 5-piece coming out of the riser for the encore and
That's
going all the way up front would be really slick, man.
That honestly would be a phenomenal idea. Yeah. I don't know if the band would like that.
And maybe make the song just a fan's input, okay? Make the song from Peace of Mind, the first album you played on, and have that cover on that album cover on the drum head.
Maybe do
kind of like a back to basics thing, iconic song from that album. Brilliant, man.
I think that's a great idea. I'd love that. I mean, I'll come out in my glory. It'll be on a little 5-piece drum set.
Yeah.
I can use this 3 or 4 cymbals. I wouldn't have the whole lot.
Right. Let's see if you have any questions for Nicko. I'm gonna. John Kinsey points out that Buddy Rich had an awful posture. So there you go.
He did actually. Yeah, he was very hunched over.
Yeah.
It didn't affect. Hey, John, that's a good question. You're good observation. But that left hand of his didn't change the speed on that, did it?
Exactly. Oh, here's a question. Thank you, Aiden. Aiden Scally says.
Aidan. I know Aidan.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. He played my drum set. Hello, Aidan. He played. Yeah, Manchester. We did in the Manchester. It was a British drum show last year, I think it was.
Oh.
I did an evening with Al Murray, one of the partners in British Drum Company, and a great celebrity in England, was like the host, and we did an evening with, and I was playing my legacy kit, and Aidan, I think he was 10 and a half or 11 last year about that time.
Oh.
And I got him up to play my kit.
Nice.
And both Al Murray and I looked at age, I said, should we go home? He really did a player. And I mean, anyway, what's his question?
Oh, so the question is, what is your favorite bit about playing with Iron Maiden?
Oh, my favourite bit about playing, I think it's just that it's hard. It's a good question. The music, obviously, is first and foremost, but the fun that we have on stage. Yeah. We always have a great time. I kind of sometimes I've got my head down, so I miss a lot of what's going on. But 9 times out when I'm I get Yannick comes up to see me. Dave will come up. Adrian's a bit lazy lately. He's got a bad back, so he can't get out them stairs too easily. Harry's always up there. Bruce, I see him a lot because he's on the top of things, and everyone's having so much fun. And I think the best thing about it is the music. Is just the songs that they're just so great, and they're all such wonderful tunes to play live.
Yeah, that's great. Let's cruise through. Are you going to open a drum store in Florida? Asks Craig Wilson.
Well, yeah, funny. Yeah, good question again. My partner's in Drum One in Manchester, my drum shop over there. We wanted to see how this works. We've only been open a couple of years. So the idea is to actually open drum shops all around the world. And Drum One's Drum One. And if we open Drum Two, if we open a shop, it'll be Nicko McBrain's Drum Two.
Oh. Do
we spell it TWO or TOO? Who knows? Or just a number.
Yeah.
But we have talked about, but especially in America, there's so many more. Not to say there aren't a lot of drum shops across England, but there's a lot more competition. Plus, you've got the internet nowadays, so that's kind of pretty important to sales and whatnot. Right. But the dream was to open one in America, and whether we do it in Florida, which would being I live here, it makes sense, doesn't it?
It does.
But then I got my mate Jeff at Resurrection Drums over here to contend with. I don't think he'd be very happy.
Well, you have a place to do clinics, that's for sure.
That's true. Yeah, very true.
And Nicko, do you when you're at home like this in between tours, and we'll pretend that's all this is for purposes of discussion? Do you play much? Do you play every day? Do you have a routine? Do you play just for fun? Do you work on certain things when you're out of the writing and rehearsing mode? Do you just play to play?
Yeah, before in January and February, when I knew I was getting ready to go, I was playing every day, and I'd go in and sit on my drum set for at least 45 minutes, and I'd go through, four of the songs and have a rest, and then I'd go the next day and play 5 and get it in my mind. Look at the live feed, live videos of just to remind myself of the set list.
Yeah.
What's next? Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't realise we were doing that. Oh gosh. No. So I'd go in and I was playing every day for at least minimum 45 minutes, and sometimes I'd be in there for an hour and a half. I wouldn't play the whole set, but I'd do it in half, and then because it's the difference about playing on your own is it's not the same as playing with your guys. Right. The energy is different. The way you attack the drum set is different. Sure. So what I was doing was more to kind of get physically trying to get what we call road fit.
Yeah.
You only really can do that when you're actually going full tilt rehearsal for a couple of weeks with the guys. But I was making sure that I had my parts where, right. And, usually what's happening is nowadays I click the set at the beginning of the song. like Where Eagles Dare, Aces High, you know, I've got a meter on it, and I'll watch the little red light, go, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'm in the ballpark there.
Yeah.
I don't watch it all while I'm playing because we move. We have to.
Yeah.
Almost kick out, and you know. But as long as you come back in the verses and they're not too crazy. In the old days, we used to get. So I used to play too quick. I used to, you know, with the energy and the adrenaline was so crazy in the 80s, 90s, and certainly certain songs, certain gigs.
Sure.
You know, it's an emotion, live music, and of course, you know, if you're disciplined to play with a click, that's fine. You know, then that sort of music needs that.
Yeah.
But so this week I went in yesterday at about half an hour, and all I do is I sit down and I start just playing a little groove. And what I find is whatever groove anyone sits down on the drums and plays first is your body groove. I think everyone has a different a natural tempo. Some people will play like this. That's about 98 beats a minute, 100 beats, you know, something that's really on the laid back side. That's their natural body rhythm. Some people, you know, and then so mine is about 120.
Yeah.
I'll put it, and you know, and I'll play. So I'll just warm up with my natural feel, my natural tempo, if you like. I don't try anything slower. I don't try anything quicker. Yeah. And I'll start, and I'll just launch into a solo, and I just create while I'm playing. And that's all basically that's why I don't do very many drum solos. I don't structure them. Yeah. You know, if something sounds good, I go, oh, that's nice. I'll try that again, and I mess it up. I'll do so, and then I'll usually crack out with the Where Eagles Dare intro, and I'll finish off playing half that track up to the you know, that second, you know, because the bass drum is, it's like and you want the notes equal, and sometimes I can play that, but they're not equal value. You know, so that's I haven't played today as yet. I'll probably go in after this and have a little rattle. And I do that about 3 or 4 times a week.
Cool.
You know,
Very cool.
Then maybe I'll leave it for a week. But as I said before, getting ready to go on tour. We were getting ready to leave America to go to Australia on April the 5th. Funny enough, me and my wife. We were going to go over 10 days before rehearsal started. On the 15th. So we would have actually got there a day later, I think, because it will be on us. I can't remember one or the other. It's either in front or behind. Yeah. You go across the date line, don't you? Yeah. So I was playing every day. Yeah. And, you know, right now, if I've got to go and do a show, I'll play every day. You know, but now just play for fun. You know, it's not really an effort.
Right. That's cool. And being that everyone knows you for the music you've been playing for years and years and years, what can you tell us that it might be music that you admire that might surprise people? Because, you know, everyone thinks that jazz drummers only listen to jazz and blues drummers and guitarists only listen to... So what is some music you admire that might surprise people?
Well, one of my favourite drummers from back in the 80s was Phil Gould.
Oh, yeah.
And from Level 42.
Yeah.
And I that sort of music I love. I love that slap bass and funk and soul.
That's
and I think they're just one of my favourite bands. You know, anything Eric Clapton plays is top form for me. Blues rock, Gary Moore. You know, and you know, Deep Purple, you know, I mean, that's in the same kind of genre, but, you know, you listen, you know, those guitar players like Hendrix, Beck, Jeffrey Beck, and Richie Blackmore, holy unbelievable. I mean, I know that they had their issues in Purple, and when Richie left, I think around 74, 75, whenever that was, you know, what did he do? Nobody really followed him anymore. Right. I mean, he had his own little thing he went out and did, but
he did Rainbow for a while.
Oh, that's right. He did Rainbow for a little bit, yes, of course. But you know, these stunning blues rock players, were, you know, that's not maybe a surprise to people, but I think Level 42 would probably be a bit of a surprise. I mean, I just love that. I mean, in fact, I thought to myself once, I could go, I could go play with these guys. I love this sort of thing. I don't think I could have really played like Phil or Gary Husband, but, you know, I just kind of, you know, before I started to play with young progressive blues bands back in late 60s, early 70s, I was playing in soul bands. Playing stuff like from Chicago and Blood, Sweat and Tears and Bobby Blue Bland and stuff like that.
Great
big horn sections too. You know, I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you remember, I don't know if our readers, our folks watching this will remember. I did a video called "Rhythm of the Beast." Yeah. And I had a piece of music at the end of it, which was a four-piece horn section. Mike Moran on keyboards, Dave Murray on Martin Connolly on bass. And it was just a stonking brass track, as I love brass. So, you know, going back to the jazz greats, you know, I don't listen to that a lot anymore, but that was kind of what I grew up with.
Yeah.
You know, Benny Goodman. My father played a lot of that, Gene Krupa and Duke Ellington's band. So I was kind of subject to the heavy metal of jazz, if you like, the hard rocking jazzers, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. And you mentioned Chicago. One of my favorite concert films is from 1970, and it's Chicago Live at Tanglewood. And there's two things about that film that are amazing to me. One is the musicianship is just amazing, and really if you know their music, to see that and realize how early on in their career how many hits they had, because every freaking song they played could be an encore level song for any other band. You know, it's really interesting. And Danny Serafino was like 23, I think, when they did that. They were all in their early 20s. It's just a really great film. There's no like stage show or anything. It's just some lights are on and they're just playing. And it's Terry Taft at his best, an amazing, you know, songwriter with the guitars. You mentioned Chicago, and that just came right to my mind.
I saw them playing. Funny enough, in London in 1972, they were playing with the Eagles, and I think it was their first tour that they did in England.
Wow!
At that time, may be wrong, boys and girls.
It sounds like it could be.
They played at a place called the Rainbow. Funny enough, in fact, it wasn't the Rainbow then. It was just a theatre. In fact, I saw the Beatles there when I was 12 years old.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh, that's another story. I'll tell you what, I couldn't hear them because the girl was screaming. I managed, my sister went and myself. And this is going to sound gross, boys and girls, but the girls pissed themselves and the wee was running down.
Wow, really?
Oh, yeah. And so you not only couldn't hear him, he was screaming. And they didn't have these big PAs in that,
right.
1964, you know, and there were like 25 different bands playing. Billy J. Kramer and the Kokotas, Cilla Black, the Searchers. Who else was on the bill? Oh, grommy. Jerry and the Pacemakers. Oh, and they all did one song each until, you know, they come on, one band to do a song and the next song. Freddie and the Dreamers, all the old 60s, you know, Mersey beat. It was a big thing, and the Beatles came on and did half an hour.
Wow.
And I can remember it was the screaming and the smell of piss.
And you couldn't hear them.
What is that, Moss? She said, the girls are pissing themselves. I said, you ain't doing it as well, are you? She said,
oh, gosh, that's crazy. You know, that's like
the same venue. It was the same venue that I saw Chicago and the Eagles play.
Wow. What a story. Because that's like a myth. You know, that happens, but I guess it's not a myth. It's more like...
Oh, it was just retarded. I mean, they were so loud, the girls screaming. I mean, there was a lot of them. You know, there were more girls going to see those guys than fellas. But, it was great, you know. So I managed to get to see them play, but I didn't really hear them.
That's funny. A couple more questions. Hopefully you folks can... I think so. Okay, good. A couple more things, real quick. Something you and I have in common is that we both love food. I actually had a cooking show on TV years ago. Believe it
You
or not.
did?
Yeah, that's actually how I got started in video, believe it or not.
Oh, good.
And I still have this that mutual fan sent me like maybe
Blimey,
6
that's
years
our
ago.
very first menu.
Yeah, it's your first menu from your restaurant.
Yes, sir.
How much
Oh, my
have the prices changed?
Oh gosh, let's see. Headliners, barbecue chicken. What is that? $12.
Yeah.
Where's the rack of ribs? Headliners. I can't see that. Yeah, read it to me. Where's the half rack or full rack price?
Half rack $12.95, full rack $18.95.
Oh, we're up to now. We just changed the pricing. I think it's 24.
Well, that's not
over
bad,
10 years.
With everything going on, that's not bad. Because this, like I said, was like 6 years ago or so.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, I think the half rack went up to 14 or 13 and a half, and the full rack's like 24.
Yeah, what inspired you to open the restaurant?
Well, okay, there was a guy who was the father of a friend of my son's, who he met at school, a guy called Nathan, and his dad was Rick. And his dad was like you. He was a chef prior to, when I first met him, and he was a guitar player as well, and he's a good guitar player. Rick Bowen was his name, and so we go and I taught him how to play golf, and he was my golf buddy, and we used to go out all the time playing golf and whatnot. And then we ended up having a bunch of friends together called the Corona Gang. Now, as we were playing on the weekends, Rick turned around, he actually said to me, I'll make the best baby back ribs you've ever had. And I went, okay. And he cooked some up and I tried them, and I went, this is just off the chart. How did you do these? I'm not telling you, it's my secret. I went, okay. All right. So then, and he made the sauce, and then finally he taught me how to do it. So we had about 9 of us around my house one Sunday afternoon, the Corona Gang, after we played golf. And
wait a minute. Wait. Pause.
What?
How prophetic. The Corona Gang?
Yes, the Corona Gang.
Did you also have, like, in earlier years, did you belong to the swine flu gang?
I'm the COVID-19 gang.
The Black Plague gang. Okay, go on. Sorry.
I've got to be honest. I mean, I ain't had a drink in 5 years, mate. And all this malarkey that's going on, I almost fell off the wagon last week. I've got Corona beer in the fridge, see, for me mates. And anyway, so
well, good for you.
Long story, even longer. I made the sauce on this particular afternoon, and Rick cooked the ribs, and because we only had a normal domestic-sized oven. You're making a couple of racks of ribs. That's a lot of room.
Yeah.
So we split making the ribs, and then one of my friends turned around and said, "Who did this sauce?" And I said, "That's my sauce." And they said, "It's a little different to it, Rick's." I said, "Yeah, it would be, because I put a couple of different ingredients in it." And so my mate says, "Who thinks Nicko's sauce is better than Rick's?" And all my mates put their hand up.
Really?
And Rick went, "Oh, you're all just, you're siding with Nicko because he's a stupid superstar in this bollocks, right?" And all that stuff. And they're going, "No, his sauce is better." And then the same friend of mine who put his hand up and said, "Who thinks Nick's best?" said, "You two ought to open a restaurant, like Rock and Roll Ribs or something." Now, we were playing music together, and then we went on. We had a band called McBrain Damage for a wee while, and we went out and did some Maiden covers and whatnot. And so we thought, that's a good idea. And this was probably back in it was probably 19. Let me get the year right, because I got it round the wrong way before, didn't I? It's probably around about, must have been 94. Okay. So for about 3 or 4 years, we let me see, we've been open 10 years, so that'd be 2010, 2010 years. Yeah, so it took 4 years of planning.
Oh, wow.
So, we were talking about it, and finally we pulled the trigger and got ourselves a restaurant. Rick went out and found it. And then we started, we did all our own sauces and everything like that. And we kept to my recipe, which is what we're using in the restaurant today for the sauce.
Wow.
They're braised ribs. Not everybody knows, if you don't know the secret, I'm not telling you, but they're not very difficult. You just have to be very careful before when you're cooking them, as you know, Dan, right? Yeah. So braised ribs fall off the bone. We've been fortunate, funnily enough, the guy that suggested us going into business works for a company called Cheney Brothers, who was one of the big food supply companies.
Yeah, they're like a U.S. Foods kind of company.
Yeah, same thing, and Cisco, but they're Cheney Brothers. He still works for them. He's still the guy we buy everything, down to the napkins, to the salt and pepper pots and everything. And they're a fantastic company. And funny enough, while we're on the subject of Cheney Brothers, just yesterday I went and did a deal to get frozen French fries. Now, I've been anti-frozen French fries forever because we would hand-cut raw peeled potatoes, do our own spuds. Right. Problem is we couldn't get the same potato regularly, which was an issue. So, anyway, when I went down to a little vacation 10 days ago with my wife, we went away for 3 nights. We went to the restaurant and we had a hamburger for lunch, French fries. And I went, oh, these are nice. And she said, they're frozen. I went, nah, really? So I went and asked the chef. But I didn't personally ask. I asked the girl to ask the chef whether they were frozen spuds. Yes, she said. She came back and said, yes, they are. And I went, well, these are bloody good. Would you ask her what brand they are? Sure, she said. So she came back. They're called Lamb Weston. And they're coated potatoes, which when you fry them, they go crispy. Yes. And I love crispy potato, and they taste just like the potatoes that I was using. And they're actually from the northwest of America, up in
Idaho area.
Idaho area and all that. Obviously a russet is the best for spuds. But anyway, we just did a deal yesterday, and out of all the line of these particular cut Lamb Western potatoes, Cheney didn't carry them, the ones in West Palm Beach where we ordered from. And so my mate phoned up the president of the company and said, John, can we get like 25 cases every week of the coated Lamb Western 3/8 size spuds? And he went, he said, I don't know about that. He said, we got 24 other lines of their potatoes, and he went, who's it for? He said, it's for Nicko. And he went, because it's him, we'll do it.
Oh, that's great.
So thank you. I'm going to thumbs up to Cheney Brothers and my mate, Rob Schwinghammer. So Rob, he's the guy who we buy all our food from for the restaurant. So
that's awesome.
Just tell your boys and girls who love rock and roll ribs who want to know, I've gone with the frozen spud. It's going to save us an awful lot of money in the end of the day, but it's not about that. Yeah. It's a good quality product. So,
yeah. And do you have live music there, Nicko?
No, we got a stage in there, and we occasionally have the odd jam, just when we feel like it. And when we had the last time we played in the restaurant was a couple of years ago, when we introduced Hallowed beer from the Robinson's Brewery. It was a limited run of what we called Hallowed. Yeah. It was a lighter kind of version of the Trooper Ale. And we keyed up, and every hour or every half hour we would play Hallowed Be Thy Name, right, on the launch of the beer in America, right? So then all these fans turned up and they went, oi, can we have a deal on the Trooper as well while you're at it? And we thought, why not? Let's go up and play Trooper. So while we played, you got 2 for 1.
Oh, that's great.
2 beers for 1 while we played the song, but you could only get it while we played the song.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Everybody. So yeah, we do. We don't license to have live music, but we just have the odd jam and their county of Broward County, they kind of, or Coral Springs actually, they kind of let us slide with it. They don't moan. We're not making money out of making music in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have the occasional jam, and I've had Pat Travers play down there, Mark Mangini, nice. Nick Faldo's played in there. Oh, we've had some good name people.
Oh, that's great.
Dipper Owens has been down, and Yeah, yeah.
Great.
So
I'll have to hook you up with Gary Husband, and he can bring level 42.
absolutely. Well, I don't think he plays with him anymore. They got that
No, he
young lad.
doesn't. I actually
Yeah,
interviewed him about 3 weeks ago. It was a lot of fun.
did you?
Yeah,
He's a great player. Yeah,
yeah,
lovely player.
yeah.
But yeah, so we that's the story really of how it came about, and
Very
then
cool.
we opened in '99. You
Very
know,
cool. Thanks for
so
sharing that.
we just celebrated our 10th anniversary last year.
Nice. Great.
Yeah,
Well, Nicko, I want to thank you so much for all your time. Hang on the line after we say
sure, mate.
goodbye. And folks, first of all, thanks for those of you who have hung through the whole interview. I apologize for the technical stuff where you couldn't hear me ask the questions in the beginning for the first 15, 20 minutes. Sorry about that. But thanks for following what we do here on Drum Talk TV. We got lots of
Yeah.
fun stuff coming up. If you're watching this live, we've got Nicko's birthday mate. Next week we have Peter Erskine on. Peter's going to be on the 23rd, which is one of my ex-wife's birthdays too. So that's going to be
one of your ex-wives. Hold up.
one of them. Yeah, that'll be on the 23rd, and then we've got Don Perry from Jethro Tull fame on the 24th.
Don, bless him.
At
Yeah.
6 p.m. Yeah, and then from Brazil's Love, now living in LA, on noon on Saturday the 27th, Achilles Priester joins us.
Ah, yes.
And then
Please, love to them all. Love to them. Yes. Yeah. All great mates. Yeah.
And then we got some great stuff planned for July. Man, I'm trying to think of who. Working out a date with Liberty DeVito to talk about his new biography. We've got, I'm so sorry. Oh, Pat Petrillo, who's a great big band player who just did an album at Abbey Road. So we got all kinds of stuff, folks. So thanks for following.
Mate, that sounds brilliant. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Nicko, we'll have to do this again as it gets closer to maybe the holidays and gets closer to knowing what the F is going on out there with touring and everything.
Yeah, be pleasure. Be my pleasure. It's been an absolute honour to be seeing you again since NAMM and chatting with you, and I hope everybody's enjoyed themselves and got some kind of, some sense out of the crazy shit I've been on about.
We appreciate it so much, and thank you so much for all the years of great music and great shows. Iron Maiden shows are some of the best, most entertaining shows to go to, visually, musically, everything.